I would have to say Destiny. To be honest, I think that would be a totally rad game in VR. I would love to see a VR version of that game.
I'm Taft Johnson.
I'm Grace Johnson.
And we are One Up VR. We were really inspired by the lack of things to do in Pocatello for the younger crowd. Spent quite a bit of time, when I was younger, just actually doing things that would get most people in trouble because there wasn't much to do. And so we wanted to offer something more that people could actually come and do on their free time. There's just, we don't have a lot of extra activities. I've always been a big person with PCs and networking. I've worked in the industry for years, and so I figured this was a great step, especially with as new as the VR technology is.
So the great thing about VR is it really is almost unlimited in a sense as far as what kinds of games you can play. That's one of the big differences between PC and console gaming, is that there's just so much more availability with PC because you can run a system that is able to handle a much higher load than any console could. We've got realistic things ranging from exploring Google Earth, deep sea diving, hang gliding. There's one that's called a helicopter experience, where it's like you can ride a helicopter and see cities and stuff from above. And then we have, of course, just your gamer favorites. We've got your first-person shooter games, just experiences like a maze, some that are just silly, that are like a Coliseum, just go all out game and pick whatever weapon you want and just lay havoc to everything around you. So I think that really there's something for everyone here.
We've had a lot of interest since we've opened. It's been a little on the edge though, just because there's still a lot of people that don't know what it is and aren't really familiar with it. Even around here, I see a lot that people don't even understand where PC gaming has gone and stuff like that. We do have a lot of people that deal with consoles and stuff, but if you ever look into the gaming world, PC is actually a multi-million-dollar industry where there's pro tournaments and things like that, but it's not really actually big around here.
I think it's just good to say that we will have a total of 4 bays. So we have 3 of just our regular virtual reality bays in which you can come in and play any of the games. But then we're also setting up a 4th bay that's going to be our virtual reality driving bay, complete with like a brushless motor steering wheel, a clutch, and all of your pedals. So it'll be really cool because the way that that's all designed, it'll actually make it feel like you're driving a car. So anytime you hit an obstacle or go off-road and stuff, you're gonna feel all of that in the steering wheel and in the way it's all controlled. So I think that's gonna be a lot of fun.
To explain it to people, as far as like the PC gaming goes, it's become more competitive with PC gaming for a couple of factors. A couple of big things that come into play is with consoles such as PlayStation and Xbox, you're always locked into what the hardware allows you to use. So the reason that those don't really ever go as competitive is, say, Xbox and PlayStation, the majority of their game, about 85 to 90%, are all locked at 30 frames per second, which if you're used to that, it looks fine. But when you're talking about competitive level gaming, they run it anywhere between 90 and 120 frames per second with a high hertz rate monitor, which gives you a lot smoother gameplay and a lot more active gameplay that you can actually see what's going on. And then with the virtual reality, it's taken that and it's putting it into a multi-stage lens that runs in stereo 3D. So everything is actually a full 3D scale. Matter of fact, you can, if someone takes your controller out of your hand and puts it in front of you, you can see the controller without taking the goggles off and actually reach out and grab it. And it really does completely give you a different view as far as it goes for gaming, just because I've seen, there's plenty of adults that don't game, but I've seen plenty of adults that actually will do VR because it's not the same experience. You really do feel like you're somewhere else because the only thing that your vision perceives is what's going on in that headset.
Yeah, it's kind of trippy because like in headset, you'll have objects and different things that you can interact with, and since they're full 3D scale, you're like actually reaching your hand into things, into like cars and trunks, or even on top of things, like barrels or walls and things, and almost it's like you want to think that it's there, but it's not.
We wanted to get this open quickly. We wanted to get it open in the middle of summer, so that way we kind of had some leeway for while people were still coming and doing free things with their free time in the summer, they could come and experience this before they go back to school, before people, are off their vacations, and that families could experience too, because we figure during school time we'll probably get a lot of after-school students that'll come in and check it out after school when they've got nothing to do after school. The other things that we experience is I didn't want to spend a whole lot of the budget building walls and stuff like that for the construction project, so we didn't hire contractors. I actually did most of the building on this myself, so not only did I build all of the PCs for it, but I also constructed all of our temporary walls and everything so that we could section off everyone into their own bays. And then of course you've always got program issues. The software that we run, as far as being able to remotely activate bays and stuff like that, it doesn't always want to work with specific games and things like that. So I've got to go in and find where that issue is and resolve that. And then always you end up with PC. It doesn't matter how many PCs you've built, anything like that, something can go wrong no matter how good the product is. In a lot of my PCs, I run the best RAM that I can, because that's one of the most important things. You don't cheap out on your power supply, you don't cheap out on your RAM. And actually on a $200 set of RAM, I had one of them that the contacts weren't working very well. And so I had to go through and clean out the contacts, because randomly every 12 to 18 hours it would just shut down for memory failure. And I'm like, no, this, if I bought a $40 stick of RAM, I'd be like, okay, it's probably a faulty stick of RAM, but that wasn't the case. So as far as where VR is heading, it's not going to be limited to games. Military's been using it to train operatives, not to mention even in the medical industry it's huge. You can download software as of right now that you can get a full 3D scale of someone's nervous system, the blood flow. So technically you could take an MRI and you could put it into a VR simulation. You could go through every single person's blood vessel, nervous system, and see where the problem is. And if you have an accurate enough MRI in VR, you could expand it and see exactly where it is. So I think as far as where VR is headed, it'll end up in most every industry. As far as the Beat Saber tournament, we didn't have quite the turnout that we wanted, but we kind of knew we did kind of a short notice on that tournament. But everyone involved had a great time. If you watched on our Facebook, we had a few of the guys that did it just danced to a Taylor Swift song, just had to do it for humorous purposes. But everyone had a lot of fun with it, and we're really hoping for our next one that we get a lot bigger turnout, because we actually want it to be competitive. And if you saw, we also did a challenge. You can come in and you can challenge either me or Grace for Beat Saber, and you could potentially win an hour of VR if you can beat us. We really just want to stay involved with the community. And we ran our own personal VR stuff at home off of my computer for a while, so we've got a bit of practice. So you got to be able to beat us, so you got to kind of put in some time, but it's definitely doable.